Hello friends, my name is Ramasu. Today we shall discuss about a topic, the cascading style sheet or CSS. Friend, if you have interest in computer technology or you want to learn about CSS or cascading style sheets, so let's start friend. First of all, I would request to please subscribe to my YouTube channel and click on the bell option as well so that my new videos can reach to you. Friend, CSS is a language for specifying how documents are presented to users, how they are styled, laid out. A document is usually a text file structured using a markup language. HTML is the most common markup language, but you may also come across other markup languages such as SVG or XML. Presenting a document to a user means converting it into a form usable by your audience. Browsers like Firefox, Chrome, or Edge are designed to present documents visually, for example, on a computer screen, projector, or printer. CSS can be used for very basic document text styling, for example, for changing the color and size of headings and links. It can be used to create a layout, for example, turning a single column of text into a layout within a main content area and a sidebar for related information. It can even be used for effects such as animation. Have a look at the links in this paragraph for specific examples as well. CSS syntax. CSS or cascading style sheet is a rule based language. You define the rules by specifying group of styles that should be applied to particular elements or group of elements on your web page. For example, you can decide to have the main heading on your page to be shown as large red text. The code shows a very simple CSS rule that would achieve the styling described. In this example, the CSS rule opens with a selector. This selects the HTML element that we are going to style. In this case, we are styling label some headings like H1. We then have a set of curly braces. Inside the braces will be one or more declarations which take the form of property and value pairs. We specify the property color in this example before the colon, and we specify the value of the property after the colon read in this example. This example contains two declarations, one for color and the other for font size. Each pair specifies a property of the elements we are selecting, H1 in this case, then a value that we would like to give the property. CSS properties have different allowable values depending on which property is being specified. In this example, we have the color property which can take various color values. We also have the font size property. This property can take various size units as a value. A CSS style sheet will contain many such rules written one after the other. You will find that you quickly learn some values, whereas others you will need to look up. The individual property pages on that you can also look for it. CSS modules. As there are so many things that you could style using CSS, the language is broken down into modules. You will see reference to these modules as you more explore our channel as well. Many of the documentation pages are organized around a particular module. For example, you could take a look at the the backgrounds and borders module to find out what its purpose is and the properties and features it contains. Friend, at this stage you don't need to worry too much about how CSS is structured. However, it can make it easier to find information if, For example, you are aware that a certain property is likely to be found among other similar things and is therefore probably in the same specifications. For a specific example, let's go back to the backgrounds and borders module. You might think that it makes logical sense for the background color and border color properties to be defined in this module, and you would be right here. CSS specifications. All web standards technologies like HTML, CSS, JavaScript, etc. are defined in giant documents called specifications or specs, which are published by standard organizations such as W3C, WordWG, ECMA, and Kronos, and define precisely how those technologies are supposed to behave. CSS is no different. It is developed by a group within the W3C called the CSS Working Group. This group is made of representatives of browser vendors and other companies who have an interest in CSS. There are also other people known as invited experts who act as independent voices. They are not linked to member organizations. New CSS features are developed or specified by the CSS working groups, sometimes because a particular browser is interested in having some capability, other times because web designers and developers are asking for a feature, and sometimes because the working group itself has identified a requirement. CSS is constantly developing with new features becoming available. However, a key thing about CSS is that everyone works very hard to never change things in a way that would break old websites. A website built in 2000 using the limited CSS available then should still be usable in a browser today. As a newcomer to CSS, it is likely that you will find the CSS specs overwhelming. They are intended for engineers to use to implement support for the features in other agents, not for web developers to read to understand CSS. Friend, browser support information. After a CSS feature has been specified, then it is only useful for us in developing web pages if one or more browsers have implemented the feature. This means that the code has been written to turn the instruction in our CSS file into something that can be output to the screen. We will look at this process more in the if possible in the new videos of our channel. It is unusual for all browser to implement a feature at the same time, and so there is usually a gap where you can use some part of CSS in some browsers and not in others. For this reason, being able to check implementation status is useful. The browser support status is shown in on our you can check on the Google as well. Based on your requirements, you can use the browser capability table to check how to properly is supported across various browser, or check if it specific browser and the version you have support the property of. If there are any caveats you should be aware of for the browser and version you are using. So friend, thanks a lot for watching the video. I hope you like this video. If you like it, please share it with the friends and colleagues, and thanks a lot for watching the video.